Hello, I'm Joy Burns-Roger, and you're watching Your Government in Action. Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Philip Davis, presented his first national budget in which he outlined key priority areas to help Bahamians cope with the major cost of living challenges. Yentel Taylor has that story.
Prime Minister Philip Davis presented the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget communication in the House of Assembly on Wednesday, May 25, 2022. The communication is entitled Budget 2022, The Way Forward. The budget is organized around central priorities defined in the speech from the throne and its government's New Day agenda. The first priority of which is to assist Bahamians as they struggle through what is currently very hard times.
This budget 2022, The Way Forward, puts us firmly on course to continue to rescue the economy. It also charts a course to help us navigate some of the new challenges facing the global economy, especially since the beginning of 2022, as well as maximize the opportunities and deliver the growth necessary to support national development. Madam Speaker, this budget is organized around three central priorities. The first priority is to help Bahamians cope with a cost of living crisis. Bahamians were already struggling with high energy prices, high food prices, and expensive housing costs. In recent months, geopolitical conflicts and continued supply chain disruptions around the world have caused prices here at home to go up even further, which has put the squeeze on everyone, especially the middle class and the most vulnerable.
In this vein, his government's strategy for softening the impact of this global crisis includes a mix of broad-based import duty reductions, increased enforcement price controls, an increase in the minimum wage for public servants, increased social services assistance, important new support for a catastrophic health care, the establishment of the Universal Service Fund to make technology more accessible and affordable throughout the islands, a substantial investment in promoting home ownership, and energy reform to reduce costs, among other initiatives.
We are thinking medium and long term, with significant investments in agriculture to increase the nation's food security. The more we are able to feed ourselves, the better we can withstand external shocks in international markets and ensure that good, healthy, affordable food choices are always available for our people. Madam Speaker, investing in an agriculture sector will not only help our country weather volatility in global markets. Investing in agriculture means opportunity, which brings me to our second priority, the creation and expansion of jobs and ownership opportunities for Bahamians. These include planned investments in the orange, green, and blue economies, and the monetization of carbon credits and associated technologies to ensure the long-term development of the country. Education and training are fundamental to our national development, and so this budget includes measures to strengthen education and address the learning loss experienced by so many of our young people during the past few years. A key element in our recovery is to stimulate the creation of good jobs. This budget increases investment in public infrastructure and creates direct partnerships with institutions to provide expanded job training opportunities. And finally, the third priority addresses various security issues to make our communities and homes safer and our borders more secure. We will make significant investments in the three core national security agencies, namely the Department of Corrections, the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. As one of the top 10 countries in the world most vulnerable to climate change, we have already made it one of our top priorities to ensure that our Bahamas is better able to withstand the impacts of rising sea levels, erosion of our coastal and marine resources, and adverse weather events. These considerations are reflected in the budget. Before I go further in this communication, I wish to highlight the fact that even though this budget represents an important part of the government's overall strategy to grow the economy, it does not represent the entire effort. Aside from the allocation of resources from the Consolidated Fund, the government intends to leverage other mechanisms to bolster the economic activity and stimulate job creation. For example, our government is intent on fostering a partnership between the Bahamas Maritime Authority and the LJM Marine Academy to offer more training opportunities for Bahamians in the maritime sector. While this arrangement will not fully be reflected in a single line item in the budget, this initiative is poised to provide real and significant job opportunities to hundreds, if not thousands, of Bahamians. It's also important to note, when looking at the budget, that any individual line item is often only one aspect of a larger, interwoven set of policies. Let me give an example from another area of special focus, which is our support for small businesses. Part of the core ideology of our party is to support small businesses' development, because we view this as an extremely effective means of empowering the majority of citizens in this country. During our previous terms in office, we created the Bahamas Development Bank, the Bahamas Agriculture and Industrial Corporation, the Venture Capital Fund, and the Small Business Development Center. We have committed $50 million per annum to small business development through these various institutions. We still hold fast to this commitment. We believe that these institutions will be leading this effort, especially the Small Business Development Center, which has unused loan resources, and the Bahamas Development Bank, which is in discussions with the Caribbean Development Bank to receive substantial funding. As part of an overall effort to increase access to capital for small businesses, in this fiscal year, we also propose to study the operations of our capital markets. We recognize that more will be said about the capital markets during the course of the debate. We recognize that $50 million on per annum basis is just a portion of the required funding that small businesses need to grow this economy. With commercial banks lending focused primarily on the consumer market, we have to create other avenues for small business financing, and we think the capital markets industry could do that. In partnership with the Central Bank of the Bahamas, we also propose to increase efforts to increase the circulation and use of the sand dollar. We believe it is a great tool which will help to reduce the transaction costs many small businesses face when handling cash. The sand dollar makes digital financial services available to micro, small, and medium-sized businesses. That will also make transactions for those businesses faster and more secure. Taken together, Madam Speaker, our support for maritime training and for the development of small businesses is substantial. However, it is impossible to fully understand this without referring to several areas of the budget.
I am Yentel Taylor for your Government in Action.
As expected, the economic way forward was the focus of attention during the weekly OPM briefing held the day following the Prime Minister's introduction of the 2022-2023 budget in the House of Assembly. The Minister of Economic Affairs, the Honorable Michael Alcides, and the Financial Secretary, Simon Wilson, were both on hand in the OPM media room to give insight into the 2022-2023 budget strategy. Minister Alcides said that the budget focuses on three main themes.
As said by the Prime Minister, three main themes, looking to bring some relief to Bahamians from the increases in the cost of living that we have seen as a result of events that have impacted us. And so we saw some relief in terms of customs duty reductions on items from food items to building materials to computer equipment, cabling equipment, etc., as well as some relief brought in the real property tax regime, and as well the expansion of exemptions available to individuals either purchasing a first home or constructing or actually renovating a first home. The second theme was a focus on education and training, and some initiatives were announced, including an increase in education budget and collaboration, for example, with the LJM Maritime Academy to train Bahamians to take advantage of the many hundreds, and as the Prime Minister says, possibly thousands of jobs that would be available for Bahamians who get that training, and investments in security, including physical security and, of course, health, with the allocation for catastrophic assistance.
Financial Secretary Mr. Simon Wilson discussed some technical aspects of the budget communication.
I think the first issue really is the government's borrowing strategy, and to explain the resolutions that were tabled yesterday. There are two resolutions. One addressed the supplementary budget, and then one addressed the annual budget. The supplementary budget is required because the Public Financial Management Act does not allow the government to put in place or use contingencies. The Act is very inflexible. So we have the resources to make the payments, but we don't have the authority. The $200 million extra in revenue means that we have $200 million which is available that we can use to make payments, but unfortunately we don't have the authority. The only way we can make payments is, according to the Act, is through a mechanism called reallocation. Reallocation means I can move money from one item, from one ministry to the next ministry to make a payment. The Act limits reallocation to 3%, so roughly $60 million. So what has happened is that even though we have benefited from improved revenue flows, we are constrained how we can spend that money, hence the need for supplementary budget. The way the supplementary budget is presented, we have to ask for the full borrowing authority, even though about 25% of that amount, which is in the supplementary budget, has already been paid through reallocations. We have to ask for the full authority, the full borrowing amount. So the amount the total amount that has been requested is probably not going to be the amount needed, because we've asked for, $240 million for supplementary. We've already paid around $60 million through reallocations. So I think that's a very, very important point. The second point is when you look, the second point, which is equally important, is that when you look at the upcoming budget and the forward years, you look at, there's a measure which is called the primary deficit, which is, in essence, the amount that you borrow to pay interest charges. If you borrow to pay interest, your debt is growing at a much faster rate Next year, the primary deficit will be approximately 0% in the upcoming budget forecast. And the following year, it's forecasted to be 2% positive, which means that the trajectory for our debt is moving in a positive way at a much faster rate than we anticipated because of the economic expansion. So I think that when you speak about debt and debt levels, you have to look at those two factors there.
The budget debate is expected to run from the 1st of June to the 16th. When we come back, more of your government in action. Welcome back. Also taking place this past week was the Local Government Leadership Workshop 2022. The conference is intended to provide the relevant information that is needed to support local government practitioners in the execution of their duties as Family Island administrators. This year's theme was Local Government Today and Beyond, positively impacting local communities. Prime Minister Philip Davis addressed the official opening ceremony. He told the local government practitioners that the 2022-2023 fiscal budget is Family Island-centric.
I wish to highlight just a few of the measures which we have taken and our broad priority areas. Upon coming to office in September, my government immediately removed the unnecessary COVID restrictions and ended the emergency orders. This resulted in increased investor confidence as Bahamians returned to work and many small businesses reopened. These measures also stimulated inter-island trade. My government's, I say in a broad stroke, priority areas for this fiscal year are grounded in three priority areas. Firstly, to help Bahamians to cope with the increase in the cost of living prices. Secondly, to facilitate the expansion of economic and job opportunities for Bahamians. To address various security issues to make our borders stronger and food security more real. Further, it is the policy of my government to achieve 30% reliance on renewable energy by 2030 as part of our energy sector reform policy. You can expect new building codes and increased access to affordable housing in addition to increased food security measures or food import replacement measures to reduce our food import bill. Additionally, the government has begun the legislative process that will govern how we will leverage and monetize our natural resources to receive carbon credits and protect the environment. We must do our part to arrest rising sea levels around our islands. These policy measures are significant for local government practitioners and Family Island administrators because much of our natural resources in the blue and green economies exist in and around Family Islands. My government is moving quickly and decisively in these areas.
Minister Clay Sweeting also addressed the opening ceremony, and he told the practitioners that the government's blueprint for change has a strategic approach to addressing long-term outstanding matters relative to local government.
Local government has been in its present form for 25 years. It has brought us to where we are today. Although not perfect, it is a part of the lifeline of our various Family Island communities to which we are all a part of. I would certainly be nothing without it, and we would not be here if not for it. Hence, as Minister, it is my belief that God has put us here for such a time as this, which means that you too have been placed here as a part of God's overall plan for local government. You know, I ain't no preacher, but I'm a believer, and we must not question divine providence. So as confirmed by our blueprint for change, we have a strategic approach to address many of those long outstanding matters that are relative to local government. Firstly, we created units within the department to allow for a quicker response time. To promote greater efficiency, an organizational chart was created to distinguish roles in order to determine desired outcomes. We know that structure provides an environment where everyone has prescribed responsibilities and duties, and those seeking assistance know who can give remedy.
More from Your Government in Action when we return. Welcome back. The Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, the Honorable Mario Boleg, made a big announcement at a press conference held this past week. Minister Boleg told reporters gathered at the OPM Media Room that the Bahamas will be hosting the 4th edition of the North American Central American Championships, or NACAC.
This 3-day meet will be staged on the island of Grand Bahama, August 19th through the 21st, 2002. The site inspection by the NACAC officials has already taken place, and work to upgrade the facility has begun. Not only will the athletes compete in a newly renovated Grand Bahama Sporting Complex, but they will be doing so in style on a level 2 Mondo surface finish that will be recertified. The stadium is also equipped with an electronic timing system and proper lighting to capture the moments. I'm also pleased to announce that Lord Sebastian Coe, President of World Athletics, formerly known as IAAF, has confirmed his attendance. He will be joined by other area presidents and officials. The country's top elite athletes, including our very own Olympian gold medalists and world champions, Shawnee Miller-Ubo and Stevie Gardner, are some of the headliners. Anthony Strawn, who ran a world-leading time in the 200-meter sprint hurdle, and Devon Charlton, Tanya Gator, and Donald Thompson, a Grand Bahamian, will also be competing. Athletes representing more than 300 countries will start arriving as early as August 15th. They will be joined by officials, track and field enthusiasts from around the region and the world, keeping with Bahamians' tradition. We will show them just how it is better to be in the Bahamas.
Also present for the announcement were Minister Ginger Moxie and Minister Obadiah Wilshcombe. Both were excited about the event that will see the economy of Grand Bahama benefit from this event that is scheduled to host over 500 athletes and coaches, and in many instances, family members as well.
We are so excited to be hosting NACAC. In our Blueprint for Change, we said that we would bring back sports in paradise. We did very well with it during the 2012-2017 period, and we know the strength of sports and what it means to our communities. Of course, in our Blueprint for Change, we have also focused on Grand Bahama being the events and entertainment destination of the Bahamas. So again, it's only fitting that the minister, along with our colleagues, have agreed to have NACAC hosted on Grand Bahama Island. We are really excited about what it means for our community. As everyone is aware, we've been through a lot. And so this is us, recovering, rebuilding, and again, revolutionizing our communities. We have, with our beautiful Grand Bahama program, we have begun the work at the sports complex in conjunction with the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture. And so we are very, very excited about what's in store for Grand Bahama Island, what it means to our people, what it means for sports development in the Bahamas, and I know that the entire community is thrilled by it. And it's the beginning. It's the beginning because, again, in our Blueprint for Change, we said that we will have a 52-week calendar of events. And this is one of those events that we're gonna be hosting. And we look for Grand Bahama to at least have half of those events, since we're the events and entertainment destination of the Bahamas.
I am extremely delighted, and I wish to congratulate my colleague, Minister Mario, and thank Mike Sands for the work he continues to do for Grand Bahama. Of course, Mike being one of the true developers and pioneers of sports in the country, we still honor you, and we take note of the fact that this major sporting event is the first major sporting event to happen as we now begin the celebration of the 50th anniversary of our nation. I think it's significant. And I spoke with the minister, I spoke with Ms. Moxie, and we think we've collectively agreed that this event, the patron should be Anita Doherty. And so we put that. And we wish this to be a great event. And certainly when you come to Grand Bahama, we'll offer you the best. And we will ensure that this event will catapult Grand Bahama and its verge and its race to become again one of the greatest places in the entire world.
That is our show for this week. Thank you for watching. I'm Joy Burns-Roger. If you have any questions, queries, or concerns, feel free to email them at bisbroadcasting@gmail.com. Until next week, have a good evening.